The Cavs just hired Kenny Atkinson after a month-long coaching search. Here are my thoughts about it. So, the first thing I'll call attention to is Kenny Atkinson's half-court offensive philosophy, which starts with a lot of high pick and roll. So the Cavs ran a lot more elbow action, dribble handoff, and ran a lot of their offense through some like roughly set actions, right? So there was down screens, there was a lot of split stuff, not just with the good players. Like every player was involved in a split action, like in half-court offense. Like so, the Cavs initiated a lot of their half-court offense through like these really rigid set actions, and were also like inexplicably wholesome in the half-court offense, I guess, where a lot of players got a chance to initiate offense, touch the ball. Strus, Levert, Niang, on top of just Mitchell and Garland, got a lot of reps as initiators. Kenny Atkinson is not really like that. He runs a lot of high pick and roll. With D'Angelo Russell, he had him pounding the ball, and I think that this is a good thing for the Cavaliers because the Cavs have Darius Garland, who is a very high pick and roll dominant player, and over the last few seasons, Garland has suffered because he hasn't gotten his high pick and roll reps. That one season where everyone thinks that Darius Garland was at his best, even though his best season was the one after. That season I'm talking about is 2022. And the reason Garland got so many of his high pick and roll reps that year is because the Cavs only had one ball handler. But Jimmy Bickerstaff, in general, did not really believe in the idea of only having one guard. He's a very traditional-minded coach and always wanted to have a point guard, shooting guard sort of dynamic on the floor where there's two ball handlers and one of them is dominating the play and the other one is, starting the possession off ball, curling off of something, coming off of some set action. This did not mesh with Darius Garland because I think the reason that teams run set action like this is to simplify the game for certain players. Make reads easier, make decision making easier. Darius Garland is an elite decision maker and an elite passer, and you don't really need to simplify the game for him. But JB Bickerstaff's offense made Darius Garland try to force him into a box when in reality his strength is thinking outside the box, being a super creative ball handler. Kenny Atkinson has shown a precedent of just pounding high pick and roll, just getting the ball to his stars, and I think DG will excel under that because Kenny will just play to his strengths. He's shown a precedent to be able to play to that strength. Now, whether that will actually happen, I think it'll happen, because the second point is that Kenny Atkinson is a very developmental oriented coach. This is his reputation. This is what Woj even mentioned in the tweet that he sent out a couple minutes ago. Kenny Atkinson is known as a developmental coach. He's credited with D'Angelo Russell's bounce back to being an all-star with the Nets. He's credited with Jarrett Allen's rise and Karis LeVert's rise. Ironically, both of them are Cavs now. Even Joe Harris, Kenny Atkinson has gotten a lot of credit for developing him into a usable player. The thing about Kenny Atkinson was that he really empowered those Nets players to be aggressive, really empowered them to look for their shots, force the issue inside. Spencer Dinwiddie especially, Karis LeVert were really forceful that season, and that's what I think Kenny Atkinson could do. So high pick and roll, that benefits Garland. What about Mitchell? The thing about Mitchell, I don't think he's perfect in high pick and roll. I think when Mitchell has struggled with the Cavs, it's because they try to put Mitchell into sets that they used to use for Garland, which are a lot of high pick and roll sets. And obviously they put Garland more in Mitchell stuff than the other way around. But at the start, or just at times, Mitchell was doing a lot more high pick and roll stuff, and that didn't really work. Donovan Mitchell is not a great high pick and roll player. Even though he's a great playmaker, his playmaking comes from his advantage creation and his passing ability. He's not an elite decision maker. He's not great at reading the floor. Obviously, he's good and he's gotten a lot better, but he's not elite at that. And it's worth asking if Kenny Atkinson decides to use Donovan Mitchell in that high pick and roll role. I don't think it'll go bad because, Mitchell is so fast. He could obviously play off screens. He'll draw true to the ball off high pick and roll a lot because of his pull-up three threat, and that opens up the pocket pass for the slipping big, and the Cavs bigs are really great at slipping screens. But I also think Kenny Atkinson does have a plan for Mitchell, and I think it involves a lot of his offensive philosophy, which are pin-down screens. This guy runs a lot of pin-down action, and they can be pretty unique. If we look at this one against the Nets, it's Dudley setting the pin down screen for Allen first, and he flares out, for Harris, and then he flares out, then Allen sets it, and he's going to slip. That's the sort of action Kenny Atkinson ran a lot. Just a combination of pin down screens. Here we have D'Lo, and it's a bit of a down screen. D'Lo flares out, and he's going to take a pin down screen himself. And Joe Harris relocates to the corner. This is a lot of what Kenny Atkinson ran with the Nets. Just these pin down actions that don't force the offensive player to make too many decisions. And this is what I like. Here we have Ed Davis flipping the screen, and the defense sells out to Joe Harris because of his shooting threat. Ed Davis gets inside, gets the foul. Donovan Mitchell excels in actions like this. I truly believe Donovan Mitchell excels in actions like this because the thing about pin down screens, the thing about set action in general is that it simplifies the game. Like the thing about Spida is that when the game is simplified and all you have to do is, create an ISO, drive, or hit a kick out pass, Spida will do it because he's so creative, so hard to predict, so fast, his change of direction obviously. Like the thing about Spida is that you can't make him predictable because he's his movement patterns are so erratic. Right, and his everything about him is so erratic, even his passing ability, because he throws so many look-away passes, finds, so many crazy windows, and that's why I think Donovan Mitchell works really well in these set sort of actions, especially with these pin-down screens. He's just coming off of something, doesn't have too much decisions to make, just come off of the screen, catch the ball, do something immediately. Pace. So the Brooklyn Nets were, I think, number 1 in pace with Kenny Atkinson in 2019. Kenny Atkinson loves to run. The Nets ran after everything in this season, and I think that's something the Cavs have needed. Over the last few years, the Cavs have just not been a fast team. JB Bickerstaff just was not a guy who liked pace in the half court and or in semi-transition or anything like that. He just didn't generate those opportunities at a high rate. I have no idea why. I just think he's a very traditional valued coach who just had a lot of traditionally valued inclinations, and one of those was his aversion to running fast. And I think the Cavs have a lot of young players, a lot of athletes, a lot of players who are dynamic in transition. Darius Garland, amazing transition passer. Mitchell, obviously transition finisher with his lob ability in the open court. Mobley and Allen can cover ground in a hurry. They're great in transition. Another thing about the Brooklyn Nets offense last season was just encouraging motion. Like, there was a lot of these small cuts, relocations, on that Nets team. And I think Kenny Atkinson just told the Nets players, fill space, move around, get open, cut, stuff like that. And you have guys like Rodion Kurucs, Jarrett Allen, Joe Harris, Ed Davis, I think even Ronnie Hollis-Jefferson making good proactive cuts, just reading the defense. The Nets were, I think, 3rd in cut frequency that year. And I think that is a reflection of just Atkinson telling the guys to move around, get open. And that's something the Cavs have missed. I talked about in the Evan Mobley video that Evan Mobley is a very cut-dominant playmaker, and that's been a little bit hidden because the Cavs don't cut that much. I hope that gets better. Isaac Okoro is a great cutter. He has great hands, so I think there's a link to suggest Okoro going to be a great cutter. I think Strus was a better cutter before he came to Cleveland. Hasn't been really doing much of it. Garland is a sneakily good cutter, so I think that'll benefit. How is this guy going to use Evan Mobley? So I haven't really seen him having any creation, anything for bigs. As the Nets coach, and that's most likely a personnel issue. The Nets did not have any bigs with any creation ability. Their bigs were Jarrett and Ed Davis. But how is this guy going to use Evan Mobley? I think it's going to be a lot of inverted high pick and roll if he wants to use Evan Mobley on the ball at all. But I guess it's sort of a question whether or not Kenny Atkinson will really be aggressive using Evan Mobley as an on-ball player. Yeah. Another thing about Kenny Atkinson is split action. So Kenny Atkinson was the assistant head coach of the Golden State Warriors for the last 3 seasons. The Warriors obviously run a lot of split action, a lot of that sort of stuff, but I also noticed there were some split concepts in the Brooklyn Nets offense in 2019, especially as the year went on. The Cavs split action this past season was really, really effective. I think it was one of the best split actions in the league between Allen, Mitchell, and Strus because those 3 players are so dynamic with the ball and can also shoot without it. Darius Garland is also like this, and there was a few split actions with him too. But a lot of the split action stuff was ran through Allen, Mitchell, and Strus when Darius Garland was injured, and that was super effective because of how good those players are at making decisions, scoring, passing, all 3 of them, and shooting in the case of Mitchell and Strus. And even Allen can hit mid-range jumpers. Evan Mobley, I think, could have a really high upside in those split actions. As the big, I also think Evan Mobley could be seen with a lot of inverted pin downs, right? Where he's the one actually coming off of the pin down screen, and Kenny tries to get him going downhill, get him making a quick pass to a cutter or something. stuff like that. I just hope Kenny Atkinson brings split action concepts from Golden State to Cleveland. Obviously, I mean, the Warriors have so many plays. You can't just put like your finger on one of them and say, I hope this play comes over. I just hope all of them come over. I think Kenny Atkinson will try to use Mobley like Draymond Green. And I hope being a Golden State Warriors assistant coach is as productive of an experience as I have been led to believe it is. I mean, Mike Brown got a lot better after assistant coaching with the Warriors. Atkinson himself has said that, learning under Steve Kerr has been a really productive experience, and the Warriors' offense is so intricate. Oh, I should mention, rebounding, the Nets were actually a good rebounding team. Part of that fill space stuff was, get on the glass, and I think that's something the Cavs have really lacked. Our rebounding effort has just been poor. I hope we acquire better rebounders, obviously. Defensively, JB Bickerstaff did a lot of show and recover. Another aspect of his old-timey mindset was a lot of show and recover. Kenny Atkinson, I'm told, did a lot of drop. Now, I didn't really check this. I hope it's true. The Cavs have really good drop bigs, and I like Evan Mobley as a shallow drop oriented big man, and I don't think we've seen a lot of that. So yeah, that's it. Kenny Atkinson, man, welcome to Cleveland. I hope he does well. I hope this goes well. I hope he gets Darius, Garland, and Evan Mobley really aggressive, and I also hope this doesn't affect draft stuff too much, or trade stuff too much. I still think players should be traded. I still think LeVert should be traded, even though Atkinson has coached him before. As for the draft itself, last thoughts, I want the Cavs to take Carlson Carrington if he's still available, Deron Holmes if he's still available. I think the most Atkinson kind of guy, though, is Tristan Da Silva. Not sure if he'll still be there. If it's not Da Silva, I think it's probably going to be Johnny Furphy, another sort of Atkinson guy with the pin down screens and stuff. That's it.